I'm going to shove it down his throat. I'm going to show him for 3 days straight how
You're so
many people...
spiteful.
Oh, 100%.
Oh my God.
Yeah, 100%. Well, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to the reaction phase, our podcast with Hometown TCG and Kitchen Table TCG. My name is Louie, and I'm joined by my good friend Josh from Hometown TCG. How you doing, buddy?
What's going on, man? You guys all know me. My name is Josh, and this podcast right here can be found in several places. Where can it be found, Louie?
It can be found on Spotify. It can be found on, if you just go to the reactionphase.com, you can find it all. Spotify, iTunes Podcast, Apple Podcasts. And we're obviously on YouTube. We alternate channels every week, which is horrible for both of our algorithms. So we are sacrificing that for you, the viewer, and to have a good community. This is a community-focused podcast.
Dude, it's horrible, but the conversation is fantastic. It's always a freaking blast. I look forward to this.
I look forward to hanging out and chatting with you too. Yeah, man. How's your weekend? What, give me like one. This is Sunday night, everyone. So it's Sunday night. I love everyone. I want you to know it's Sunday night at 11:30 p.m. my time, 10:30 your time, and this goes live at 9 a.m. I have to do the editing tonight, so.
I was told all through school that my procrastination would get me nothing, and look at me now, a fledgling YouTube channel out there in the sea of the internet. Take that 8th grade math teacher.
Oh my gosh, Miss Wiley, my 8th grade math teacher. She's horrible.
Oh my gosh, she doesn't deserve that. Anyway, what are we talking about today? We gotta have some kind of rundown, right?
We're gonna talk about ProQuest. We're gonna talk about Starvo. Is he a problem? We're going to talk about the market, which is pumping. They've got lots of good things to chat about today. Yeah, man. I'm stoked. Okay. I was listening to, I want you to know, I was listening to the
Not Hometown TCG,
the Logan Paul podcast, Impulsive, and I realized how horrible my podcasts are. So I just want to apologize to the community that, like, their podcast is so good. Like, everyone, they don't talk about anything, but they're so much fun to listen to.
I'm right here. I'm right here. You like cool. You insult me to my face.
It makes me. I know most of my podcasts are like this already, but it makes me want to do a podcast that's not about anything.
All right, I'm just gonna I'll get on my phone. Let me know when you're done. No, what do we? This is why the podcast is horrible. We don't even have a rundown.
I don't know. Yeah, we already did the rundown. All right, let's talk about ProQuest. Okay. I want to start off this podcast though by calling a ProQuest winner, who is Sean from Team Kitchen Fable. Just won a ProQuest tonight about an hour ago, and
shout out.
Pretty awesome. It is super exciting. And curious, did anybody from Hometown TCG's new team win ProQuest this weekend?
I haven't got the final results in yet, so I reached out to them about like our final standings. I know all 7 members had 2 ProQuests this weekend, so we're gonna see how that ended up. So, and it is Team Hometown TCG Ascent. The Ascent guys, they are a fantastic group of individuals.
I like it.
And Team Kitchen Fable called them out. What?
How many did you play in this weekend?
I took my wife to Medieval Times because it was her birthday.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about that. Let's talk about it right now. How was Medieval Times?
Dude, it was amazing.
That's our night, they have like a show in front of you.
Yeah, it's a night jousting like fight. And
Did
our
anybody
night
die?
We were the blue. Well, all the other knights died. We were the blue knight and we won. And I was instantly pumped up. This guy comes out. And he's, on his horse, and they all have their little entry celebrations. Ours comes out and looks right at my wife and goes like this. And he's like flexing and going like this. And I was like, I don't even care. And then he does his second round and he's pounded his chest. I'm like, I just like this guy. This guy's cool.
Amazing.
Oh yeah, we took the win. You know what I'm saying? That's all we do around here. She got a flower. She got a rose. She rode on his horse back home, and I haven't seen her since. So it's terrifying.
I've always wanted to go. All right, I'm gonna call Sean. I don't actually have his number saved.
This is ProQuest winner, Sean. Let's go. Yeah,
ProQuest winner, Sean. Sean.
I'm at Miller's Ale House with Jacob, Will, Matt, and Jonathan. Jacob's on the team, and the rest are the boys from South Florida.
You are on the reaction phase right now. We are in the middle of the podcast. Congratulations.
Congrats, dude.
Thanks, man. I know you don't see what happens on the team, but basically every time I hit the nuts with Bravo, I just say Pog, and Jacob knows that like I couldn't hold a poker face the entire day.
Well, we were hanging out. I was hanging out in the Discord server, the Team Kitchen Fable Discord server, waiting for the updates of your 35-hour Bravo Oldham final match.
The top 8 was like 4 hours at least.
Yeah,
it started at like 6:30 and we finished at like 10:30. It was crazy. We had some really close Viserai games with Will and Matt, and it was like the game with me and Will, I think, went 2 hours, something crazy. Like I juiced him, and then he went off with Sonata, and it ended up like 4-5. I forget who had 4 and who had 5, and it just came down to like a bunch of late game decision making. And the crown advantage is pretty strong if you play it right and like time your tunic block. So
yeah, we're gonna talk about Crown of Seeds on the podcast later.
Ooh, yeah, dude, that's one of my favorite cards of the set.
All right, well, tell us what gold foil did you win?
I got Dawnblade.
Oh, that's a cool one.
Yeah,
that
dude.
is a dope one. All right, and now
it's pretty sick. Yeah.
Tell us your number one takeaway from your ProQuest.
Ooh, there's a lot of spice out there. There's a lot of spice out there, and I think that and I also like. I think a lot of people are upset about Drippy Bravo, but it can be built so many ways that I think we should take the time to take a look at like what special tech is in there and ways to shake up the game. And that's what I'm seeing. Like I saw a lot of really cool stuff today. I played against a Dorinthia that like had the balls to play like 3 twinning blades and almost gave me like really challenged me a bit. And yeah, and then Viserai, like I played against 2 very different builds. Obviously, they tend to have similar game plans, especially in the Drippy Bravo. But the late game was spicy in different ways. So I think LSS, I do think. Well, I won't get into the fact that I think Viserai is tier 0 and a little busted, but I will say that LSS did a great job with Everfest, and I think a lot of us are just having fun playing the game on different heroes right now. So we'll see how it shakes out.
That's awesome.
That's a great freaking take.
Yeah. Well, hey, dude, congrats. Go party. Go hang out. And
hey, from Hometown TCG, let them know we all say congrats, dude.
Josh from Team Hometown TCG also says Team Ascent says congrats.
Okay, Team Ascent. Yeah, really appreciate Josh. Definitely looking forward to seeing what those guys do, and we'll get some fun reps in, and
we'll do a 5-on-5
with the new team. So yeah, dude, the 5-on-5 should be a lot of fun. Big support to them in the upcoming season, and I think Kyle DiGiacomo, beat like 2 or 3 of them at a ProQuest yesterday, but I haven't 100% confirmed. So
okay,
that could have happened.
All right.
Oh, well, no, we're just gonna spread lies now. Great. All right, cool. That's what this podcast has become.
I like it. All right, buddy. Have a good day. Congratulations.
Yeah, man.
Congrats, dude.
Yeah, thanks for calling. See ya.
Bye. Good.
Well,
dude.
that's awesome. It sounds like he had a great time, and
I mean, he won, so like, does it really count? Of course, he had a good time.
But okay, he's got a lot of cool takeaways from the ProQuest. Let's just talk about ProQuest Season 1 or Weekend 1. And his first takeaway was there's a lot of cool tech out there. And I don't want to toot my own horn, but a little beep beep.
You did say this.
I was the one that said this is such an exciting time for Flesh and Blood because you just have no idea what you're going to come up against. Like you have no clue.
And like I think a lot of people love that. I think there are some people who don't love that,
Sure.
but a lot of people love that, which is a lot of fun to see. And I know that gives people a lot of joy. And I think that's awesome. I love what he said, that like the people who are really in it right now, like Team Kitchen Fable, I'm sure your team, like all these teams that are
Team Ascent,
Team Ascent, all the people who are really into it are absolutely loving the like building and tech and figuring it out. And I think that's really super. It's really cool to watch that and really cool. And like you saw this a little bit in a lot of the top 8s too. Like there was a lot of Bravo. Like we'll talk about that. We're a whole section of this episode is going to be talking about Bravo. There was a lot of Bravo, but there was also a lot of other heroes. And like different builds of heroes that like we haven't really seen. He was just saying Viscerai, there's now 2 builds going around, and like there's a lot of different shenanigans happening, and so it'll be really interesting, I think, as this season progresses to see what happens. Like I think this first weekend winners almost have a little advantage, right, where it's like the tech's not out yet, and now the tech's going to be out.
Yeah, this is the true like crafters time in the season where you're really rewarded. Instead of knowing what the top tier decks are and just being a good play tester, you're rewarded for kind of theory crafting and seeing ahead of the game. So it's a really interesting time for some people that are very much involved with that. And there's a lot of players where they really excel is I call them the pilots, right? Over the crafters. They excel in knowing kind of a rough lay of the land and then outplaying their opponents, beating people there. And I think we're going to transition. We're slowly going to transition from the pilot or the crafters fantasy into this pilots fantasy, where these guys, they're going to kind of have a better idea about the meta and then go from there and say, I know how to outplay this now, and I can make a plan ahead of time and put it into action. So, but it's cool.
We kind of saw this with the U.S. Nationals, right? Where it was they weren't calling it ProQuest then. It was Road to Nationals.
That's what it was. Road to Nationals. Yes.
It's gonna be interesting to see if that name sticks or anyway. Like this feels like the same thing as Road to Nationals. ProQuest seems like it feels like the same thing as Road to Nationals. Anyway. But at Road to Nationals, there was all this tech that came out, and then it was at the actual callings and nationals that people really, you're saying, like, we're able to really expand upon it and figure out how to play into the meta with the tech that was discovered. So,
right. And then it's not a giant switch of the deck, right? It's not it goes from being this big lay of the land, and there's so many different builds, and there's just these big swings from one Viscerai build to the next Viscerai build. There's these large swings. Now the tech becomes, I have 3 copies of this card in my deck because it plays against this strategy that I know is popular. So the swings are more laser focused, right? It's more laser focused tech versus this wide berth of decks. Yeah. So it's cool to see, and I think this is what TCGs naturally do. Just in my experience, all my Magic experience, even Dragon Ball Z, it kind of always works like this. But it's really cool to watch players like that. The guys on Team Hometown TCG Ascent, watching them, go from theory craft to pilot mode and just move along that chain. It's really cool. So if anyone's interested in that, always feel free, whatever Discord you're in with these guys, ask these guys. They love to share this information. They love to talk about it. These people are they're in it. So just feel free to ask.
It's a completely different tier of player than like me. Like and
I'm a good player, but
and you're a different tier of player than me. Like I just for me, it's just like crazy to see how much time they dedicate to learning the ins and outs of the game and like the specifics that they know. It's really incredible to watch, and it is really cool. I have a lot of respect for people who can dedicate that amount of energy to like the actual physical game of it.
I always say I'm like king casual. Like if we're in an armory, I can bring almost any deck, and I'm gonna do great. If I don't win, I'm gonna finish near the top. But then you start putting me in a pool with the guys from Team Ascent and the guys from Team Kitchen Fable and stuff that are those guys. They're the mathematically correct. And John Wood was always like this. The mathematically correct. I can always make squeeze a little bit more out of this orange. You put me against guys like that, and I'm like, ooh, I'm a little out of my depth here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
They talk about things like tier 0, and they talk about big words other than that was not obviously not a big word, but like they talk about things like the parent.
It's a pretty big word.
What's the it's like stalagmite? What's the
you got roasted so hard for that.
No,
people
I
were
don't
like,
read
if
the
I
card
have to
anymore.
listen to Louis mispronounce a card, I'm like, who pronounces all the cards right away? Like,
fine.
what? Yeah,
I'm used to getting
it was
roasted.
really funny. I thought it was funny.
You should have heard me opening Kamigawa. Those cards are literally impossible to pronounce.
Dude, you deserve a medal for trying. I saw one pack. I'm like, there's no way.
I will not open up another Kamigawa box on.
Dude, again, you get gold star for shooting your shot. I would look at it. I would open the first pack and be like, all right, and stream? All right, I'm on my own.
No, but like, what's the calculator that the people do to calculate the pull rates of their deck, like the
is it a
hypo something, I don't know. It's something
I
like
just had this conversation. I just had this exact
hypocentric,
conversation.
or there's like a centric and a hypogeometric center. I don't know. Anyway, it's crazy. And like the point is that it's so calculated, and that's the season that we're in right now. People are calculating their decks, they're figuring it out, and over the course of the next 2 to 3 weeks, it's going to be really interesting to watch how this meta evolves and shakes, and how people adapt to it and how people change what is happening. And we saw a crazy amount of different decks hit the top 8. Again, I know Starvo was like 4 or 5 out of top 8 in almost every ProQuest list that I saw.
You'll always get those one post, and someone in the comment is already saying it right now because it's still early, so people are still watching. But someone's always saying there was this one ProQuest and there wasn't a single star. We're like, yeah, of course, there's going to be one-offs. I'm sure there's also a ProQuest out there that like 6 of the top 8 were Starvo. You're always going to have some kind of variance in there. But from
I saw a couple ProQuests where the top 4 was all Starvo.
Oh, did you? Yeah. I didn't catch that one, but it wasn't uncommon to see 3 Starvo in the top 4. Yeah. But that kind of, so now it begs the question, right? So you got this deck, and we talked about the fact that we're in this builder's phase, this builder's paradise, and this, this wide open meta, and one deck kind of comes through and it doesn't clean up. I'm not saying it just absolutely cleans up, but it's strong.
Mm-hmm.
People haven't had a chance to see it in action and react to it yet. Guys from these teams that we're talking about, Ascent and Kitchen Fable, they've had a chance to maybe play test against certain builds of it, and they're more prepared. But your average player that's going to this ProQuest, it might be the first Starvo deck they played against, right? Or maybe they played one game with their buddy, and now they're playing against guys that have grinded, 20, 30, 40 games on it the night before the freaking ProQuest or something. So it's a different atmosphere. I think it's going to be a complex question, but let's ask it. Is Starvo a problem? Right?
Well, yeah, and I think going off of what you're saying too, there's also certain player. I mean, we saw with the Star City Games con that like the person who had top 8 with Bravo Star Show had never even really played. Like he'd been playing for a week, and like you have some stuff going on like that where like there are some lines in Starvo. What's the awakening line? It's like awakening into
I mean, you can Crippling Crush, you can Oaken Old.
Yeah,
some lists are running a single copy of Pulverize.
It's awakening to Pulverize. So I've heard a lot of it. That's what it was.
Yeah, some lists are running a single copy of Pulverize.
So like, there's just things like that people are doing. That's like when you pull off an awakening turn, it's crippling no matter what your skill level is as a player.
100%.
It's going to affect the game in a big way. And so like I think this first week you have a lot of that, as then people are going to adapt and learn from it. And so we've already kind of pre-talked about this. You think that Starvo is not a problem, right?
I don't think you can call it a problem yet. We've had one weekend of ProQuest. We've had one weekend of our top players. The kind of the core of what I call the TCG hive mind, right? Because with the internet now, I feel like a super boomer. With the internet now, that's
the internet these days. These kids are
freaking internet.
Yeah.
With things like that, the center of the hive mind has now got a bigger experience against it, and they're going to start teching against it. As the hive mind starts to tech against it, that's going to get out into the rest of the community, and it's not unbeatable, and that's been proven by the fact that it's losing in ProQuest. And I don't think the fact that 4 of the top 8 is an accurate, like, oh, this is a bad thing. Because what if in a field of 32 there was 18 Starvo, 18 people played it, and 4 of them top 8'd? Like, that's
right.
A lot of people just want to play with their new card, maybe. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I think it's always a valid thing that the data needs to be backed up, where like if your pool of Starvo players is increased, then the win-loss percentage
theoretically your top 8 percentage. So let me give you a hard take then. Starvo's not a problem. and people are learning to play against it, but it's absolutely fine. There, I'm going to give you a hard take because I know you like to push back on me. So
I think I'm there too. Like I want to play devil's advocate a little bit for the sake of the podcast and for the sake of which I like to do, and maybe people catch on to that, maybe people don't. But
it's way more fun for us to fight. Let's do it.
Yeah. I tend to agree with you that like at this point it's still too early in the meta. It's still too early to experience that. Like I think it's definitely too. I don't think anybody who's calling for a Starvo ban right now needs.
Oh my god, I don't want to hear that, bro.
Off of Facebook, they need to go outside and enjoy their afternoon for a little bit.
Okay, this is to the community. None of you better be calling for us. There's not a single one of you that's going to be calling for a Starvo ban. I'm sorry. No. Oh, please, no.
Like I agree. Like there's a lot to.
We've had one weekend of playing this thing, and there's no way we're calling for bans already.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I hate that mindset. Oh. Sorry.
You see it though.
This is your Metazoo thing with me. Just so you know, I'm gonna go off.
See it. You see it though. You see people saying that. You see people saying it's busted, and like it's too early to tell.
Yeah.
I will say that like it seems like Oldham Bravo. So this is my devil's advocate, which is like is Starvo a problem? I do think there's a little bit of a problem in terms of like the games just being so grindy, and like it makes me wonder like. If that's the intended, I feel like games of Flesh and Blood are becoming a little bit less interactive, and like we're losing the like WTR, that meta. It was so much like back and forth and on your turn and on my turn and back and forth and back and forth. And I feel like the games are getting so much like bigger, like so much one, and they're getting a little bit less interactive. And I struggle to, the past. I'm not calling for any bans. I'm not saying things need to be banned, but when things
banned right here, let's go.
When things have been banned, right? When things have been banned, oftentimes what they say is that it's not the way that the game is intended to be played. It doesn't provide a fun experience. It doesn't provide the experience that is wanted for Flesh and Blood. And when I see a Starvo and Oldham, like it just gets so grindy that I start worrying about the timer. I start worrying about how much that kind of, and they just changed that ruling too, which is another thing we could talk about with the ability to quit now. What's the official word?
the ability to concede.
Yes. Sorry, your fancy big words for quit, which is just a 4-letter word. Yeah.
For white flag.
So like I just think like the games are getting a little bit more grindy than I think maybe I used to like about Flesh and Blood, the constant back and forth. And that's one thing I'm not saying that there's a problem. I'm just wondering, is this different than it was intended? Is the only thing I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm just trying to.
This is going to be weird. You've all seen the movie Inception. This is going to be, I'm going to play devil's advocate to the devil's advocate. We're going another layer.
It's not even real content anymore. It's just us trying to get views.
That's the trick. It never has been. So, but you say that these grindy, you describe them as grindy games, right? And in my opinion, you will always have the top level of gameplay for Flesh and Blood, for TCGs, will always be these grind fests. Now, we've mentioned before, like the arena of esports on this podcast and other, whether it's TCGs, but I'm going to lean into like League of Legends. I went through a kick. I was very into League of Legends, and I got into this game and I was playing it. What I learned about that is at the pro level, it's all about micro advantages. The game is so complex, and every game, just like Flesh and Blood, ends with life totals so close. It comes down to micro advantages at minute 2, 3, 4, 5. So Flesh and Blood turn 4, 5, 6. So these games that you're talking about that are grindy, but there's not as much back and forth, there's actually more going on in those games than the average player sees. And I think what we need to figure out a way to do is how to open that up to the average player, saying the reason this is being played, I have Pulverize in my hand right now, and I could play it right now. However, I'm pitching that and something else and swinging Winter's Wail because I'm aware this game's going to be a grind. It's going to come back around. I've seen them use some resources.
The second cycle of Bravo is super strong. Like,
But,
it's crazy.
sure, but whatever. Then that needs to be presented. It's a presentation problem, not a gameplay problem. If Flesh and Blood is doing that, if you have to think 20 minutes into the future to win this card game, then not only are we in a really cool spot because players are rewarded for making difficult plays, for making decision points well in advance, right? For making this plan and executing, but we need to work on our presentation and say, this is cool because when our announcers, our casters, whatever it is, that's why this play is cool. That's why you need to import this into your gameplay. Like stuff like that is more important.
Yeah, this is where now we can get that. Let's back up from here. We can go down this rabbit hole, but like like for the meta, for the gameplay, and for ProQuest, I don't think that this is an issue.
No,
it's a little bit, I guess it is a little bit of an issue in the early rounds, right? Like when you have a timer, is there a timer in the final? There can't be a timer in the final.
No,
round,
I think once you top 8, there's no.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because the last round I
believe there's still warnings for slow play and things of that nature, right? Because we don't want to be there all night. But
like in the first 2-3 rounds, if you play a Starvo versus Oldham mirror, or not mirror, sorry, if you play Starvo versus Oldham, or whatever, Oldham mirror, whatever it is, and if that game goes to time and it completely affects the way that the game runs, right? Like that's where I'm saying, like, but is Starvo problem? No, not on the final round, not at all. Like when you can play the game for 3, like Sean just said, it went 4 out, it went out. But
that's part of the skill is being, if you're going to play Oldham, if you're going to play Starvo, you need to know that your decisions, because like we said, we're trying to get to cycle 2, cycle 3, your decisions you can't afford to tank. Right. You can't afford to. You have to know your plan. You have to know your lines. You have to be true with them.
Yeah, I get it. Again, I'm saying
we're on the same page. We're yelling about the same thing right now.
Like,
and I think
my question is, Starvo problem is simply when especially in a ProQuest situation where like you might have some people who aren't completely fluent in the deck. They're not really good at the game. They're like me. They are wanting to play in a higher level tournament. They're not trying to win. That could affect
even like me. Yeah,
that could affect the person who has been grinding, has been playing super hard, because I'm sitting here trying to plan out my turns and and it takes me a lot longer. And then you go to time with me because I'm not up here. I'm still somebody that matters, but I'm not up here. And so then you lose as a result of the design of the game, the design of the hero being a cycling. I just think
is that a problem with the game, or is that a problem with the specific rule about a draw and going to time?
I don't know. Like this is like, I know this is a hot topic that
this is honest
draws, to God.
It's the only game where draws. First of all, most games draws are less than likely. Like it's really hard to get to a draw. Draws feel horrible. When I sit down at a table, I will say to my opponent, the first thing I'll say, "Hey, I'm Josh." I introduce myself, and then they always go, "Oh my God, you're the really good-looking guy from YouTube." And I'm like, "Yes, I am. That is me." And then after I introduce myself and I get all my flattery, I will say, "Hey, if I'm ever playing slow, please let me know. Don't hesitate. I'm not shy. You won't hurt my feelings, because the last thing I want to do is go to time." And what that does is that puts the idea in their mind like, oh, okay, yeah, that would be bad. And now they're subconsciously thinking about it. Well, so both players, and it's a way, instead of sitting down and being aggressive about it, it's a good way of getting both players to be on the same page. Like, hey, we don't want to go to time. We want to, let's work this game to completion. But so the fact that I have to do that is weird.
But then we're okay with that on the final round. That's where the disconnect is for me. We're like, the final round, it's like, okay, take 2 hours to play your game because you're fighting to the death, and I get it. But like,
that's fine. That's completely okay.
My point is, like, as a not high level player, it prevents me from being like, hey, I'm going to play Starvo, because I don't think I can do it. Like, I don't think I can go through that cycle and learn that and do it fast enough. And I don't want to prevent you from winning a tournament because I couldn't play the game in an hour.
But now you can concede. So now, Louis,
so then what's the point of playing? So I mean, what's the point of me from trying then? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
but there's a balance there, right? And if you're gonna go to, like, at local armory, we often go over the time limit and just let players play it out, and we just deal with it, right? Because it's either it's a new player or someone. But if you're in the ProQuest, right, the ProQuest is meant to be the cream of the crop, this top tier event. Then you said it prevents me from playing Starvo because I'm not good at it. My comment is tough stuff. You need to get good at it because you're playing at a ProQuest. You need to practice. Okay, you should be practicing for this experience because it's like your armory. It's a ProQuest.
Yeah, that should be what it's presented as then.
Yeah. Either way, it's cool that we're on the same page. Yeah, Starvo is not a problem.
I'm curious what the comment section says. This is like I think if you are listening right now and you have an opinion, you're like, Louis, you're so stupid. Like I think we need to hear that. Like
yes,
leave in the comments.
That's a good comment for this week. What do you think about is Starvo a problem? The meta. What were your game 1 and 2s? Did you actually go? Because I've heard this from a couple people, and did that affect you? I'm curious to hear if that affected other people, or if it's just 1 or 2 people that reached out to me. Because I think that does. I mean, it's interesting. So it does stink.
I think it's still too early, though. At the end of the day, it's definitely too early. Next week, 2 weeks from now, we may have a different take. But I think it's still early.
Dude, that's going to be the worst is when people are going back and commenting on episodes that are weeks old. I get that in my videos right now. Your take on this was horrible. I'm like, well, yeah, things change.
Those people should go make YouTube channels. If their takes are so much better, they should go make YouTube channels. That's
all right. Hold on. If we're going to insult people,
I'm not insulting.
You told me on this episode I could drink a case of beer, right?
Oh, do you have a Laguntas cooler? That's dope.
Hold on. Let me get my next one. What do you want to talk about here? Hold on. I'm busy.
What is happening?
Here we go.
Oh, that's a cool cooler. I'm jealous.
My aunt left it at my house. Let's go.
You just have a cooler of beer sitting next to you?
Yeah, you told me I could have beer on the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm a big guy.
Which was weird. I was like, you're an adult. You can have a beer if you want. And then I went and got a beer.
Did you?
I'm on a diet, so this is great. This is
our wives don't watch our content. They'll never know. This is fine.
I also had Twizzlers today and Taco Bell.
But you messaged me and said you went to the park, so you exercised.
No, my daughter ran her. I chased her.
Did you do monkey bars? Can you do monkey bars?
No.
Are you kidding me? There's monkey bars at my local gym. So this gym I go to, there's monkey bars. And a couple weeks ago, I did the monkey bars down and back, and it's pretty long, just to prove that I could do it. Then when I got to the other end, I just put my toes on the ground just to prove.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. But I can probably touch on most monkey bars too. I don't know.
The gym monkey bars and your children's playground monkey bars.
You went to the gym, the actual. Sorry.
Yes, they have a monkey bar set for training and exercise.
My brain goes to kids gym.
Jungle gym.
That's where my brain goes.
We both have. I have a gym membership, and you and I have jungle gym body types because we don't go to the regular gym.
I had a gym membership at one point in my life, and then COVID started. I haven't been back since.
So before we go into the next topic, I gotta stop. I'm gonna call a hard halt here. I promised you, dude. I made a promise, and I have kept it. I have a background.
Your background looks amazing.
I have stuff going on in the background. I bought lighting and stuff to install later.
When you turn on your camera, I said, "Oh crap! I got to work on my background because yours is as good as mine, and it's time to improve mine."
Well, I don't have as much product as you, so keeping the shelf stocked.
You've got all the legendaries. They're not cold foil here.
Where did you get
rainbow foil?
You have rainbow foil. You're a fraud. You're a fraud.
Yeah, you thought these are cold foil? What? This is rainbow foil. Yeah.
But do you have a Rudy kit for each shelf?
No, I have a Rudy kit. I sold a Rudy kit and made all my money back instantly. I did what you're supposed to do with any TCG product. You sell the product the day that anybody else can't get it. You get half your money back.
You're that guy. Do you have any idea if you talk to anybody on the internet ever who owns a Rudy kit, nobody lost money. They all sold a single Rudy kit and made their money back, and all have an extra one. Ask next time you see someone post about it on Facebook, ask, and that's exactly what they'll say. Yeah. Every person on the internet says the exact same thing, and you're all full of it. All of you.
I actually did that. Like, I can show you the receipts if you want.
I got the receipts.
I actually did that. No, so I burned my Rudy card as part of my Christmas video.
I don't watch your content.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna start saying that because you hurt my feelings every time that you say you don't watch my content. So I'm just gonna say I don't watch your content.
Me burning my Rudy card and then throwing it into the fire. I think a lot of people miss it because it's kind of dark, but yeah, it's just
that's kind of intense. Why would you do that?
Well, because Rudy didn't really do it, so like somebody had to burn him.
Do it.
I mean, it was like
I saw he put it on a barbecue and he lit it on fire.
Did he burn them or did he like? He burnt them how I would expect somebody who lives in Florida to burn something.
Are we just, so we're taking shots at people who live in Florida now? What is going on? Bova, you don't deserve this. You are too good for this.
That was cool.
What was that?
I don't know. I think I kicked the outlet that the lights are plugged into.
Let's go. So we talked about money. So that's a perfect transition into the market.
The market. I already transitioned.
Oh, did you?
Up there, yeah. You can't see it. Anyway, the market. So things are pumping, man. I mean, it's good. Everything. Let's talk about everything, and then we'll talk about high-end stuff later.
No. You wanted to. Every time we talk about the market, this is my only gripe with you. I'm going to start the fight right now. Every time we talk about the market, I talk about the market as in like Majestics, the newest cold foils from the latest 3 sets, things like that. And you're like, the market's doing horrible. And I go, what do you mean? You go, there's a 9.5i that's been on eBay for 10 grand that hasn't sold in weeks. I'm like, oh, that's not a market.
No, you can't say that. Stop. You're going to get me in trouble by saying that. Why? There is a BGS 9i on the market for 7 grand. No, listen, those people don't mess around. They will take you down.
I think
there's a BGS 7 or BGS 9i on the market for 7 grand that has not sold. If you say there's a BGS 9.5i on the market for 10 grand, they're going to eat you. So I'm just protecting you.
Dude, I am huge. I dare you to try to eat me. You would have to be a heavy man. And maybe you could. I have a big appetite, but whatever.
I reported a sale of one once, and I have gotten a lot of crap about it. So
wait, what? So you reported a sale? Oh,
I don't want to talk about this. It's as stupid as you think it is. I don't want to talk about it.
I don't know what this situation is going to eat at me. Fine, we'll talk about it off stream.
No,
we probably won't, but I'll say that we will. We talked about the high-end
market. The high-end market is just kind of there. Like, there's been a lot of cards listed this week that are, simply put, not selling. But the low end, like, this is where like my life is. Like, I used to not buy $30 Magic cards. Like, if
I'm the same way.
If there was a $30 card in a deck, I'd be like, whoop. Can't play that deck. Time to play Red Rush. Like, that's.
When I got back into TCGs, I bought a booster box of M20 or Core Set 2021.
Yeah,
and I came home with my tail between my legs, and I explained to my wife, "This is just really important to me. I used to play this game. It's something I never had the money to buy a booster box when I was younger. I just want to." And she's like, "How much was it?" I was like, "It was $100." She's like, "Oh my god!" And now. Yeah. Looking around, I told you I did the shelf math. Yeah. Like, I look back on those days fondly. What?
Well, and then like, now it's a business. I don't want to call it much of a business at this point.
I'm the same way. I'm an LLC. I exist. Government.
So then it just changed because now I don't even have to ask my wife about it. And now I just do stupid stuff and like figure it out.
The cool thing about Flesh and Blood and me is it all started. I put a bunch of money in a pool, and that pool just hasn't drained yet because anytime you sell something, money goes back into that pool. And now Hometown TCG and stuff like that, like the camera and the microphone, the patrons bought like the lights and the camera and the microphone, and the gameplay table because they support it. So it's super cool to be able to do that. But man, even when I do that and I'll buy a case of Tales of Aria, I'm like, or not Tales, Everfest. I'm like, oh, that was a lot of coin, a lot of scratch. So when you say high-end market, and you're like, yeah, there's these cold foils that are up there for sale. I'm like, well, yeah, I get why people aren't buying them. That's $500 for a cold foil null rune hood I'm out on. Like,
they're not buying them because everyone's buying Everfest. Everyone's buying like
it's so good.
Everfest is pumping, and my microphone. Everfest is pumping, and then playable, just straight up playable singles.
Playable cards are.
I mean, what did Sean mention? Crown of Seeds. That's what we said we were going to talk about. Like Crown of Seeds, it's like out. Like there's none of them.
Shout out John Wood finished second in a ProQuest. So Hometown TCG John Wood finished second in a ProQuest yesterday, and we were play testing the night before, and he pivoted onto Starvo. My joke is
the night before he pivoted.
I messaged a buddy. He came over and I beat him down for 3 hours on Starvo. And then he left at like 1 a.m. And I messaged a guy in our group chat who was going, I said, I beat him down for 3 hours and he's a much better player than me. And I said, now he's going to take this deck and go beat down on other people all day long because he's pissed. And he did. He crushed it. He played freaking amazing. But the night before, we were looking for Ramp Out of the Ram's Head, Crown of Seas, because I let him borrow mine. And he was like, I'm going to build the deck and just have it for like all of ProQuest season. And there wasn't any. All the cold foils and everything were completely out of stock, which was cool. Like all these playable cards are just flying off shelves.
Yeah. Well, and it's, a lot of contributing factors. I think one of the major ones is ProQuest season. People are literally need the cards to play. And I think we've probably had less Tales of Aria Unlimited opened than the market needs. Like, I think like that's definitely like a dynamic of this where.
Have you ever opened a pack of Tales of Aria Unlimited? Because I think
I've opened one case because it was at my house and I was bored one night, which happens
I've never opened a pack.
Yeah.
Of Tales of Aria Unlimited.
I think like that's one huge major contributing factor, which is great. Like, I mean, the singles will be purchased. The question is what happens in a month, right? Like, and this is where this is where I would really caution somebody. Like, anyway, anything I say, first off, is never investment advice, but I would caution you of investing. Like, if you need the cards to play, then buy the cards to play. But I would caution you on like investing in cards right now, because like I think at the end of ProQuest season, if somebody moves off of Starvo, and like everyone and their mom is playing Starvo right now, so like
sure,
if Starvo, if somebody comes out and there's like a
deck that Starvo can't beat,
they call it the oh man, that was almost not good. We almost had to edit that. I don't know, can we make Abe Lincoln jokes yet? Has it been long enough since he was assassinated?
I'm super uncomfortable. Like, my channel can't take a hit. I know you're a big fancy man. I can't take a hit. What are you going to do to me? What's happening right now? What's happening right now? Do I need to get the case of beer again?
No, but like if somebody comes out and comes out with a Starvo killer deck, right? Like, like it's gonna affect the market in a big way. And like, I mean, wild stuff is the James White interview, right? Where he basically said that French versions are going to see a Command and Conquer and Enlightened Strike reprint in French language, right? Then you mix that with the idea that WTR is out of print and Arcane is out of print, and you got to do some like assuming they're not going to reprint WTR and Arcane in French and call. Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that. Then does that say that Command and Conquer and Enlightened Strike are going to be in this supplemental question mark thing that's coming out? You know what I mean? So like that kind of thing, we've never seen that in Flesh and Blood. We've never seen how a reprint affects the I guess we've kind of seen it with Tunic and we've kind of seen it with Skullcap, but not really. Like, we haven't seen a reprint of a card
like a CNC or something more accessible outside of the legendary.
A non-foil unlimited compared to a non-foil reprint of the unlimited. We've never seen that. So like, it's going to be super interesting to see how that actually affects the market. So I gotta just caution people before you hop in and buy up all the E-strikes, like go buy them from my store. It's KitchenTableTCG.com. You can hit the singles link, like go buy them from my store if you're going to buy them. But listen,
Oh, are we done? Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Some of us quit our jobs.
I heard that you should have quit your job harder. So
yeah, that's what George said. But like before you go and invest in these cards, just know that like we don't know how the market's going to affect that.
No, but that's the argument, and I know we don't talk about other games on this podcast, but that's the reason for things like the conversation about investing in Magic the Gathering and things like that, why the argument for and against the reserve list and investing in singles, which is already risky, investing in singles outside of the reserve list is very rarely like something you want to lean into. And it better be a special treatment of something, a Comic-Con promo or something like that, where the date can't come around again or something like that, because it's a game first, and Flesh and Blood is a game first. I know we talked about the game and the investment in the market and stuff like that go hand in hand, but it is a game first. So investing in game pieces that are needed by players can be an interesting prospect. But if that's your long-term plan, that's scary, because as you mentioned, when people need game pieces, the LSS has said we only won't reprint cold foils of the set in that treatment. That's it.
Well,
that's
so
it.
like,
Everything else we reserve the right.
Well, like, and now here you're starting to see things like, I mean, like, I don't want to, but you're seeing reprints, you're seeing gold foil printed of the old cold foil cards. And like, I brought this up to George on the phone today. I was like, what do you think about that? He's like, what's the issue? It's not a reprint of a cold foil. I was
it's
like,
not.
Yeah, but like, it's a
promotion. It's not. It's a promotional treatment.
But it kind of puts a cap on the price of a cold foil. I know it can be reprinted, but they're already saying that they're not going to be reprinting the cold foil. What's the Tunic, the number one card of the art game that we're talking about? They already said
that
I had to look
that
at
one.
It's right there. That card. They already said that they're not going to reprint any more of the gold foil ones after the next, whatever the Nats is or whatever.
How cool is that prize, by the way? I don't mean to deviate, and you can go last gold foil Tunic. I saw that listed. I was like, how sick is that in text? Like, that's cool. Anyway, but yes, they already said they're not going to reprint.
That's not to say that they're going to say that they are not reprinting any of the other gold foils ever again. But if they, Sean won the Dustblade's a terrible example, or Dawnblade's a terrible,
because
Dustblade would be a worse example.
One of our locals was Heart and Cross Strap, so it was a welcome to raid card, right? And so it's a gold foil Heart and Cross Strap.
So Heart and Cross Strap at some point was worth $700. It's probably the peak of Heart and Cross Strap. It's probably worth $350 now. So now if the gold foil version of it is worth $1,000, that puts a cap on what the cold foil will ever get to, because it's more limited. So again, I'm not being negative, and I love I actually, when I saw the gold foils, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. I love cold foil commons, and this is a gold foil common.
Except potions. No potions.
Yeah, no potions. That's a rare. I'm not a huge fan of the cold foil rares. I think it's because commoner, like, I really think, and I've said this before, if commoner really picks up, like if commoner really becomes a format like Pauper, like Magic the Gathering Pauper is
it's a real format. There are Pauper players that they play Pauper. That's what they do.
And Wizards of the Coast, Wizards of the Coast,
Wizards of the Hazy IPA over there.
Stalegagigomite. Wizards of the Coast prints cards or downshifts things in response to the Pauper format needs. They actually do things to support. This is why we're on a tangent now. I'm a huge proponent.
Oh, imagine that on the reaction phase.
I'm a huge proponent of LSS saying that commoner is commons only. It is this only. And a lot of people say, well, just throw the rares in. They're cheap enough. Well, that opens up the card pool, and you can't downshift the things that you need to solve the problems.
Yep.
Like, if you need to solve the problems, you downshift the rare that affects it. You don't have to print a new card. It doesn't affect the market. It's a way to solve a format. And like, this is what if commoner takes off, cold foil commons, I mean, they just have a huge ceiling. Anyway,
and
that's why I like
cool.
them.
Yeah, they're cool, but all of that, all the market talk about, cold foil commons, gold foils and stuff, that's never really spoke to me as the market. What I care about for the market is, I know the equipment suite for your deck is going to be expensive, and I know there's going to be an expensive generic Majestic in your deck. I want to know what your Swarming Gloom Veils cost. I want to know what your Runic Reclamations and your Revelant Rune Bloods, if you're, for Viscerai decks, what that suite of new cards is going to cost you. And that has always been something I tracked as the indicator of the market. I've always ignored like the highest of the highs and ignored the lowest of the lows and thought, okay, what's pulverized, not the special one. What's if a player wants to play a deck with 3 pulverized in it and they already have a Guardian Shell, what do they have to shell out now that Everfest is out to pick up 3 pulverized? And that's always something I've been interested in. And Everfest is really cool because we've seen that stuff went down, and now that ProQuest has happened, people are playing these cards and going to these events, and things like your pulverized, things that were formerly lower, are on the rise because players are picking these cards up to throw into the 80.
Which is what? Good or bad for the market?
I think that's fantastic for the market. A rising tide lifts all boats, right?
I don't see that as something that's going to increase the collectible side of the market. I'm not trying to be negative.
I don't think so either, but I don't think the collectible side of the market is the meat and potatoes.
This is where things have just changed so much in the
I think
world.
I think the meat and potatoes of the market is the players. We talked about it last time. It's a player's game right now. And so the meat and potatoes of the market, the people, 90% of the people buying cards for Flesh and Blood are buying them to play right now.
Yeah. And I hate saying this is my issue.
Sure.
This is on me. This is a Louis issue. We talked about this with my marriage a couple weeks ago. This is a Louis issue. I don't like saying that the market is pumping as a good thing when the price of the singles needed to play is increasing. Like I don't like saying that. Like I am still of the proponent of this game is still too new. It's for cards that are required to play to be that expensive. Like I still take, like, right now for me, my desire for Flesh and Blood, if you asked me the question, which you didn't, and shame on you, if you had to ask me the question, Louis, what is your desire for Flesh and Blood in 2022? My desire for Flesh and Blood in 2022 is that as many people as possible start playing Flesh and Blood, that we have more players today than ever before coming into the game and less players than ever before going out of the game. That is my desire, and it's 100% selfish. More people playing the game means that my channel gets more views. That's 100% selfish.
More people playing the game to me means that I have a wider group of people to play the game with. I have a wider group of people to talk about the game with. I have more and new ideas, more and new eyes on the game that are, teaching me things.
So
okay,
when cards that are required for decks are expensive, I start being like,
but I hate when you do that. They're not cards that are required for decks. The example I was using was Pulverize. Pulverize is not required for a deck. I'm happy that the cost of Pulverize went from $3 to $8 or whatever it was. That to me is great growth because the average person can still afford 3 pulverizes. That is fine to me. It's CNC. If you want to argue that CNC is a problem, I'm down. That's fine, and I can see where you're coming from, and I'm okay with that. But these aren't cards required to play Flesh and Blood. They're required to play at the ProQuest of Flesh and Blood. The
balance of this is so hard.
Sure. Yeah.
And I get the comment you're going to see a comment that says, yes, I agree with it. Then you're going to see a comment that's like, Louis is an idiot. I'm sick of them overprinted. And I've said this, they printed the daylights out of WTR Unlimited. And the truth be told, the WTR Unlimited box it doesn't work the way, and they know this. LSS knows this because they changed it. Right, they changed the majestic pull rate in all the new sets. That's why.
So the WTR and the ARC box.
Yeah, that's why you're never going to hear me complain about Tales of Aria singles. The most expensive Tales of Aria single, Terra Sunder, is maybe $6. I don't know. It's not. No, what's channel whatever. Anyway, it's not.
I'm not ready for the market quiz, dude.
It's not. Channel Lake Fridge is probably $15, 12 to $15.
The card's cool.
And so it's not the point being that like right now, the more people, so when I look at, is the market healthy? I look at cold foil commons. I really think is the way to, it's a cheap card, tells you if anybody's really investing.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Like, hey, it's what I did with the reserve list in Magic. I'm looking to invest, and my foot in the door was anything under $2. I was looking at things that were interesting and under $2. I was picking, and then as my foot as the door opened more and more, I would buy. I bought a couple revised duels and stuff like that. So you're thinking like the cold foil commons are these gateway to the investing side of Flesh and Blood. Okay.
I'm thinking like WTR.
That take. I'm down with that take.
When I say cold foil commons, I'm talking about WTR commons.
Yeah.
No,
sure, fair enough. Yeah.
So this is
the OG3. Let's call it.
I think is an interesting take. Like your take's completely different, and that's why I love this podcast. Like, I don't even like, if you ask me what the market's looking, I instantly go to cold foil legendaries and cold foil commons from WTR.
Oh, I instantly go to like playables.
When a WTR alpha box has been on, I haven't looked at WTR alpha for a week or two, but
yeah, any numbers you say right now, don't hold your feet to the fire.
2 weeks ago, there was a WTR alpha box for $3,300. It was Canadian. It was like from Canada. You had to buy it from Canada, but still $3,300 for an alpha box is ludicrous. It's ludicrous. It's cheap. Like, that's cheap compared to where we've been. And compared to,
that's true. Yes.
Well, even compared to the market over the last 6 months, that you didn't see sub $4,000 alpha boxes almost ever. Like, it's just like,
no, but I think that's correct. I don't know. It's hard for me because I think it's correction.
So here's my take. This is where I think the market currently is.
Sure.
More people are playing the game, and they're taking the card. People who used to just be collectors and investors when everything was shut down, when COVID had everything shut down, the LGS wasn't running events, and there wasn't this, there wasn't that. People who were collecting are now selling things to buy the cards they want to play.
That they want to play with. So I saw this tweet, and this leans into exactly what you're saying. Someone said, "Hey, how did I get into Flesh and Blood? I bought a bunch of. I heard about Monarch. I bought a bunch of Monarch. I thought it was going to go to the moon. I was going to make all this money. I didn't. I needed something to do with this stuff. I opened it and I played it with, I think the tweet was like my girlfriend. And then we just kept buying cards, and the game is so good that now we're Flesh and Blood players. Like, that's how we got in."
And so, like, I just think like that is something that's happening. I think there's a group of people who got into this as investing, and they've lost money on Monarch, and they've lost anybody who bought any cold foil in that bubble window of like April to May of 2021 has bought
a heart.
Yeah, I bought an eye. I bought an eye for $13,000. Like, I'm down $8,000 on an eye according to the current. Like, there's one. I have a 9.0 eye. There's a 9.0 eye on the market for $7,000. If that sells, I'm down $8,000 on an eye. So, like,
that's rough. Well, your math, you're down 6. If you bought it at 13,
listen, it's 2 a.m., 1 a.m.
You're just saying time.
13 is hard. 13 is a hard number to subtract or add from. I'm down money, and but the difference is I loved the game before I got involved in that. Like, yes. I bought that as like hey, I love the game and I want it, and it went up to 22,000 at some point, and I probably should have sold it for What?
That's my Rudy kit. I did the same thing. I bought it because I didn't realize you were looking at me, but I bought that because I love the game. I did a whole video on that's why I bought these. Is because it's going to always remind me of this fantastic time in my life.
Yeah, I probably should have sold the eye when it was worth $22,000 2 months after, or a month and a half after I bought.
Probably you just should have.
I should have taken a $9,000. That math right? I should have taken a $9,000 profit, but I didn't because I wanted to keep it. And there's other people though who bought it that high they lost their money and they didn't love the game. So
yes.
now, or previously, or over the last 6 months, or now, or whatever, now they're listing their cards, and that's what's causing the market, and it causes people to feel like the market's collapsing. I do think that we got a little out of hand. I think maybe an eye at $13,000 was stupid. You can buy I could have bought a Black Lotus. That's the price of a Black Lotus, a game that's been around for 30 years.
And that's always been my take on this. It's
at
hard
the time I didn't love Magic.
Yes,
I played Magic for 10 to 15 years. I never even thought to buy a Black Lotus. I tried to trade. I tried an island to Black Lotus trade thing. I got to like a $300 card, and then I just gave up.
That's still pretty freaking cool.
It was pretty good.
It's the argument for that, right? It's the exact same thing. It's you didn't love the game. Why? And we're back at the same conversation about I felt bad about buying a $20 Magic card, like a single copy, and then I spent $2,000 on Rudy kits for Flesh and Blood for nostalgia, just because I wanted to spend $2,000. So it's these gigantic swings, and it's what you personally see this value as. But all of that aside, we have to get players into the game. You said the market is a player's market essentially right now, because these cold foils aren't necessarily flying off the shelf. And your goal, your dream scenario for Flesh and Blood, is you want to see more people than ever getting into the game. But we've set a decent foundation for this. And I'm not saying everything is perfect. I'm not sitting here trying to be blue skies and rainbows. But we're in a scenario where players can pick up cards that they want for affordable. Now, your legendaries in certain sets and your Command and Conquers, notwithstanding, that's an argument that I'll be willing to have. Your Pulverizes, your Swarming Gloom Veils, your Tome of Harvest, right? Your Awakenings, your Expose the Elements, whatever the card might be. We're in this time where if you're a player and you're coming into Flesh and Blood, you can pick up a ton of this stuff and do what we used to do with Magic. You're picking up some of it as you go along, and then you get lucky one day and you open a Crown of Seeds Unlimited, which I've still never seen a Tales of Aria legendary rainbow foil. I have no idea what they look like. I have no clue what these cards look like, and I'm a darn content creator, no idea. Never seen a single one. But you buy these cards, you collect them over time, and you can play this, and then once you've built your foundation, maybe you get more comfortable with this exposure. You're comfortable with the idea of, I bought a Vestige of Soul, I'm done using, I'm going to sell it, whatever it may be. We've set up this perfect storm in this foundation for players to kind of make an influx, but we still need a catalyst. It's there. The foundation is there. The scenario, the storm, right, is brewing. We need that first lightning bolt to shove players in and have them realize, oh, I can pick all this stuff up. I can get this stuff. I can buy first edition Everfest boxes right now for $80. And open these boxes and have a blast. We need something, and we talked about this last week, to then grab those players and say, this is an opportunity. This is the scenario. Jump on in.
Yeah. Yep.
So
it's gonna
be the callings. It's gonna be the callings. I know that you're down on like the regional events, and it's just gonna be the callings. I feel like they're gonna take the next step when it comes to
I'm not down
coverage.
on them. I just feel like there's a lot of them.
Yeah, sure. That was unfair. I didn't mean to put you in a spot like that.
Yeah, it's all right. Everyone else thinks I'm negative.
No, I don't. I don't. I hate that. I hate that take. I'm not about this off camera.
Yeah, I'm not down on them. I just think there's a lot. I think that there is a lot for the current player base. It's gonna be super. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that they all have 20. I hope they all have 2,000 players at them. Vegas had what? I think 1,000, 1,200.
I think it was 1,100, 1,140 or something.
Vegas had 1,100, 1,200. We'll call it. I want to see more players at events this year than last year, and I want Magic. This is what I want. I want the Magic the Gathering player to see a Twitter post or a video. This is why I did the vlog. I did the vlog because I wanted there was this guy who used to leave comments on my channel every video. I can't believe you're investing.
Saying he's no longer a viewer?
Oh, he definitely doesn't leave comments anymore. Nobody plays this game. Stop telling people to invest in cold foils. It's not even a true.
Is this when you started doing Metazoo content? Or?
It's funny. I get the same comments from the Flesh and Blood people now. It's amazing. But like,
we're not doing this for another episode, are we?
No. But like, I used to get these comments, and so that's why I did the vlog. 100%. That's why I did the vlog, because I was like, this guy, I'm gonna shove it down his throat. I'm gonna show him for 3 days straight.
You're so spiteful.
Oh, 100%.
Oh my God.
Yeah, 100%.
I will not get on your bad side. I promise you.
I just don't like it when people lie. Like when people, like, if you don't know
I'm
something's
trying to think of
true,
a lie I've told you.
if you don't know something's true, why say it at all? Why do you have to say nobody plays Flesh and Blood if you've because like I've seen it. People like the professor at the event on my vlog said this best. He said every day people say nobody plays Flesh and Blood. Well, here's 1,000 people playing, and like for the events, that's what I want to see. I want to see big events with a huge turnout. I don't want to see Star City Games Con where there's 850 Magic players and 150 Flesh and Blood. I don't want to see that
on Super Bowl Sunday.
I don't care.
Under
I don't
advertised.
Yep, that's why I don't want to see it. I don't want to see under advertised. I don't want to see 70 under advertised events. I want to see 3 massive events. That's just me. Again, I'm just giving you my.
I'd like to see 3 massive events, and I'd love to see 70 medium events, and I'd love to see thousands of local, what you would consider, 12 to 32 person small events. That's
what we're seeing. We're seeing.
Yes. And we are. And like, look at the ProQuest season. We keep going back to the ProQuest season. All these ProQuests, man, everyone's, Star City Games started. This was horrible. This was horrible. How many people look at the posts online from different
Forge and Fire and LGS, and they're in Chicago, I think, right?
Yeah.
They had. Were you there? No, you weren't. No. Sorry, we already talked about it. You took your wife on a date. That's great. Forge and Fire had almost as many people at their ProQuest. They had as many people as their ProQuest as Star City Games had at their con. Like, I mean, like.
That's a sign that the Flesh and Blood scene is extremely healthy, in my opinion. But that Star City Games Con, you do make a good point when it comes to these bigger events. Star City Games Con, or whatever, the Calling Indianapolis, I think that's the next one I'm going to for sure. And it's like it's a bigger commitment because there is travel involved for a lot of people. So to make it not more than a local event, right? Not a local event, but just slightly more than a local event. People have to be traveling to this thing. So not only does there have to be draw, but you've mentioned before, our audience and the average Flesh and Blood player is, that 27 to 34-year-old person, human being, which means the life has to get interrupted to make these events happen. So you have to have such a strong draw that these people are willing to take time out of their everyday normal life to come to your event. And I think they do events so well. It's so cool, and it's such a welcoming and cool and good atmosphere that helps. I think it definitely helps justify the mental gymnastics that you have to do when you put in those vacation days, or you take the days off work and you lose the hours, or whatever it is that you do. The mental gymnastics are helped by the fact that whatever big Flesh and Blood I went to, there hasn't been a bad one yet from a community standpoint. You can argue the Lightning Briar, the Chain fiasco, whatever it is from a competitive standpoint wasn't great, but the community aspect, I think that's going to help. And I think that props up the level of the market that I like to watch. And that level of the market is a decent foundation. And that's what keeps things from ever going to zero. The top end, the big money does what it does, and it can flow back and forth. But that foundation keeps the market from ever going to zero. And if the market never goes to zero, there's always a chance. It's that old saying. So you're saying there's a chance, right?
The reason we never finish this sentence, typical. The
podcast,
the reason why I want more and more players is because everything that I do for Flesh and Blood has always been and will always be long term. Like the reason I'm not worried about the eye. It's like I'm sure that like Flesh and Blood will succeed. You bought it
planning to hold on to it for years anyway.
Yeah, like we should I don't have $13,000 to spend on a card. Everyone, I sold my entire reserve list Magic the Gathering binder.
It's so weird for me that, and I've kind of started to get this too, that you have to justify these things. I put out a deck list that was meant to be like a casual, fun deck, and someone jumped in right away like, there's no way this is going to work at the ProQuest. I'm like, dude, that's not what it does. I intentionally said this is like a fun deck. Like, what are you doing?
I almost didn't even post. If you watch my video about the eye, I said
I don't watch TCG content.
I actually said I'm not even sure if I'm going to post this, because I almost didn't post it because I didn't want people to think that I had $13,000 to spend on a card, and B, I don't want other people spending $13,000 on a card if they can't afford it.
Right.
But like what I said in the video is like I had a binder worth like 7K of Magic the Gathering reserve lists that I had collected over 7 years of playing Magic the Gathering.
That's cool.
And I sold that, and then I had sold a bunch of camera equipment as well when I quit my job. So
what'd you quit your job to do?
To start a YouTube channel about Flesh and Blood, because I love this game.
That sounds really positive.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's insane. It's almost like, it's too bad that anyway.
Anyway, we've gotten off course. The markets and the people
long
saying
term. Everyone needs to be thinking long term. More players equals better, long term success. The
players are your meat and potatoes. Without the players, the investment means nothing. It just doesn't. Or let's not call it players. And this is not a nobody plays Metazoo comment. So put your guns.
We're back to Metazoo again.
Just put your guns away, because there are certain games. Well, no, I'm not. I wasn't even going to mention it by name, but I know you, and I know how defensive.
You did. What do you mean?
No, but you're going to get defensive. Comment. If I wouldn't have said this is not you would have got defensive. There are certain games that go after a different interest. They go after this IP. They go after this. There are things. There are pins and coats and binders and stuff like that. So it's more than just the game. So there's a collectability there. But for games that focus on that stay out of the IP arena, they have to focus on their player base, and it has to be a game, because it's no longer the IP. It's no longer people that have a feeling about Flesh and Blood characters, or about Pokemon characters, or Metazoo or whatever it might be. People don't invest or get involved in Flesh and Blood because of a Charizard or because of a cartoon. They get involved for one thing. They get involved for the game. And that means that your players will always be the meat and potatoes of that market. They will always be, because there's not an outside influence from other sources. So it's important in the next year that we see what we both want to see, this gigantic influx of players. And if we do, it's the symbiotic relationship, right? We see more players, we're going to see more investors, prices are going to go up for these high-end things that aren't necessarily crucial to the game, and that everyone's just happy. That's your dream scenario.
Yeah, I mean, like I think the Flesh and Blood market just doesn't know what to do with high-end right now.
You would have taken that as a Metazoo comment if I didn't say this is not a Metazoo comment.
Listen, like I think Flesh and Blood needs to be a good game. This is why.
Let's get that out of the way. Flesh and Blood's a great game. It's so cool. It's so good.
Yeah, no, this is why.
Good.
This is why the ban announcements affect me so much, because like the game has to be good. There's nothing else to fall back on for Flesh and Blood. Right. Like there's no other thing. The game has to be designed well. Every set needs to be good. Like especially when you have 3 sets a year, or 1 actual set and 2 supplemental sets. Like in order for the game to grow, the game has to be good. It's not that hard. It's simple. Like
that's a factual statement. But you saying that the game is good, just so 100%. Everyone knows, before someone in the comment goes, well, he says the game has to be good.
I hate content creation. The fact that we have to do this right now.
I know.
I hate it. It's stupid.
The fact that you're sitting in front of a wall of Flesh and Blood stuff that you love, that you come down to every day in your office and you look at. I do this too. I start my work day in my office and I look at my Flesh and Blood stuff, and I just get happy. The fact that you now have to sit in front of this wall of Flesh and Blood stuff and defend the fact that you like the game.
It's not about the stuff. It's not about the stuff. It's the fact that every single day you can come to my channel and watch a Flesh and Blood video. Every single day. That should be enough.
I don't watch TCG.
I should be able to sell every single card I own and provide for my family if I need to. If it means that I'm still going to make content for people to watch daily. That should be that is my investment.
We're not going down this rabbit hole.
I'm going down the rabbit trail.
Wait, hold on. What shirt are you wearing right now? Stand up.
No way.
Does that shirt say Fenway? Does it have a bottle opener on it? Oh.
Where's the camera?
I have that shirt.
Oh, I thought you were gonna. I
me?
thought you were gonna stand up and you were gonna have that shirt on.
I have that shirt. I also have one that says "Drink Local." Same.
That's nice.
Same. What?
Yeah.
This. First of all, this has nothing to do with the podcast. This is horrible content. I'm wearing that shirt next time I see you. I can't believe you have that shirt.
This is the Logan Paul style content, man. This is what people like. This is
I'm not nearly as good looking as Logan Paul, though.
You look kind of like Logan Paul.
I'm taller.
This is why Impulsive is so good. They're just friends chatting and talking. People like that crap.
We need more friends.
Yeah, we should start being friends, and then we can.
Are we not friends?
You're best friends.
Thank you. I thought you were mad at me the other day. I was at the gym. I took time out of my workout to text you and make sure you were mad at me.
Don't do that again, please.
Oh, you were mad at me.
I would never.
I push back a lot, and I'm an acquired taste. It's fine.
Yeah. We didn't mention this. We're still in the market chat. Cold foils are drying up from Everfest and Tales of Aria.
Yes.
That's the other thing I had written down.
we did. Hold on, time out. We did touch on that because we said the Crown of Seeds and the Rampart and then Prism, Vestige, and Footsteps are playables in the ProQuest season. And when a person looks at the market and they say, I can buy cold foil Vestige for $194 and I can buy rainbow foil Vestige for $180, again, I don't roast me. I don't know if those are correct numbers. He's the market guy. I know how to play the game. That's the difference between us. And if they say that's that close to go, I might as well buy the cold foil. At least that's the way my brain works. I'm already spending that money. I'll spend the extra $10 to get the cold foil.
I want to know the print runs so bad. Like there's a world.
Me too. There's a world I'm not even the market guy too. Oh, I want to know.
There's a world where there's less rainbow foil.
There is.
Like long term. There's this world where like.
Rainbow foil Crown of Seeds. If you've seen one, message me in the comment because I want to get your contact info and I want you to send me a photo. I want a real photo of a rainbow foil Crown of Seeds. I'm serious. I want to see one. Have you seen one, Mr. Big Content Creator Wall of Stuff?
I've never seen one. Yeah.
It's not a thing.
Yeah.
I'm convinced. Tales of Aria Unlimited came without legendaries. There's not a hot take. You say hot take every podcast. It's my
I didn't do it this week.
There's never been
we almost got through a whole episode without saying hot take.
Hot take. There's never been a rainbow foil legendary from Tales of Aria. It's not a thing. It's impossible.
Right. This was great. This is fun.
No, we were not done. We have one more section.
Oh, I thought we were
do the Metazoo. What's it called here?
Oh my gosh! How many times can you people bring up
dude?
People are gonna start thinking that it's intentional.
I don't care. I love messing with you. It's so much. We're friends, right?
I hate doing this because then I have to go to your channel because last week we were on your channel.
Okay. All right. Well, just twist the knife. Yeah.
You start. You start.
All right.
This is the closing crazy comment collection.
The closing crazy comment collection. The stalagmama. I'm going with my fellow human being who also probably hits his head on ceiling fans. I'm going with the Tall Timmy's comment. The Tall Timmy said, some much needed pushback from Josh. It's great to see robust, healthy discussion between mates. So this comment started as I wanted to use it because I get to roast you about pushing back with you, but I think the guy brings up a really interesting point about the fact that we can have discussions and we can sit on opposite sides and maybe not opposite sides, but have different viewpoints on something involved in Flesh and Blood. And we can think one person can think A and one person can think B, and we can both have the best interest of the game in mind. And we can have the conversation and we can have a logical discussion. And then like you did last episode, you turned me on a point. I said, oh, that's actually a really good point. I like that. We can have that between each other. And I think that's a huge value here. And I value that conversation with you every week more than you could possibly imagine. And also the guy's apparently also huge. He says the internet says he's also 6'8". So I cannot wait to get a photo with him because biggest content creators ever.
Great. We can have a conversation. It's great. And we can also do it respectfully and have honest conversation with each other. And
screw you, dude.
And like see and
I can see where you're coming from. I don't have to agree with it, but I can see it.
Well, and like respect each other. Like there's so much negative, like there's so much pushback against content that is just blatantly people starting crap that doesn't need to. Anyway, like the respect
that actually, again, that happened recently to me, and it never happened to me before I was ever on Kitchen Table TCG, and now I get like a very specific section of the internet. Just seems like they come after me just to come after me, and I'm always very interested in that. Have you seen me respond to YouTube comments? I respond to
everyone, which is it's beautiful.
I bust my ass to respond to these comments, and I don't just give a BS. I like put in thought, but I respond to every comment positively. Every single one.
You do a really good job. I'm jealous. I used to do that, but then my wife yelled at me for being on my phone too much, and then that had to go.
Well, you had kids.
Yeah, so, that had to go. I got yelled
the only things I respond to negatively is when I do something with another content creator and someone says something like they come to the channel just to say something bad about that content creator.
It happens to me about me all the time, doesn't it?
No, not just you. No, it has happened about you before, but it's happened about others. And I will step out of my way and be like, that is the worst take. That's the only time I'll get negative with anybody. But Tall Timmy, shout out. Thank you so much for the comment. And that was just a really cool comment from me.
All right. This is from Michaelito20. To your point about product releases, I understand. However, I cannot help but think that I prefer a well-designed, balanced, and flavorful set rather than the burst of releases. And I think the lack of a digital client helps to keep the meta guessing fresh for a while. I mean, this is we got this a lot. I got a lot of PMs about this, about people comparing it to Magic the Gathering, where there's 18 billion releases a week. They did Crimson Val and whatever the other set was, and then the double feature of both of them.
Of the two sets.
They do a billion releases that aren't thought out, aren't intentional, aren't good. I don't think that either of us last week were saying that that's what we want.
No.
And I think it's a great feedback, and I agree. And I think I also prefer having well thought out sets and well thought out designs. I think where I come from as a kind of reaction to their reaction, where I come from is that a lot of people, myself included, say Flesh and Blood is ready to compete in the limelight with the top games. Flesh and Blood is ready to compete for that 1, 2, 3, are we going to say 4 top TCGs in the world? Flesh and Blood is competing for that. And my take is that in order for Flesh and Blood to actually compete with that, they need to have a release cycle that is robust enough to bring in new players to the game and to bring people into the world and to bring people into it, because Kamigawa, I went to 2 Kamigawa pre-releases this past week. And
wow.
I know.
That's pretty sick, dude.
How
were they? Was it fun? I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt your tangent, but that's awesome.
You want to crap on me for something in the comments? Crap on me for that, internet. Like I play a different TCG.
I hate that take. I have Magic the Gathering stuff and Pokemon stuff and Metazoo stuff in my background. I hate that take.
So it was good. It was super fun. And then we finished my sentence. I think if you're going to compete at that level, you have to have pre-releases. And I know the response is going to be, well, we have ProQuest. But you just said you don't want a new person to go to ProQuest.
That's not the same as a pre-release. The pre-release is an amazing experience for players of all skill levels. And that's what the Farewell to Wraith event was. That event. I did a whole diatribe. I did a standalone video about Fab events, and on this podcast, a whole diatribe about the Farewell to Wraith event was the perfect event. The Fab veteran was able to enjoy it because there's that nostalgic, there's that I love this game, and the new player who hasn't, they're new, they haven't got to draft Welcome to Wraith yet, got to experience that. The prizes were balanced evenly. It was perfect. You're 100% right. Preview season or pre-release events are that next step. It might not be the Farewell to Wraith event, but it's just this perfect environment for everybody. I don't know anybody that goes to pre-release and they're like, I got a 4-0, I got to make top 8, I got to study them at it. Like, people don't do that. They're like, hey, I'm going with my buddies. We're going to grab lunch. We're going to enjoy Everfest, or not that's bad, Tales or Monarch or whatever.
It's way more about your polls.
What?
It's way more about your polls than your right.
It's not even about your polls. When someone next to you pulls a cold foil, everyone freaks out. Like, it's so cool.
So like, I just think, you know, like my heart all the time, and like, maybe I need to say this more in my content, but like, my thing all the time is, how do we get more people in the front door? That's all I care about. Like, you guys, all you better content creators who understand the game better and understand that, you guys all do things that are talking about the growing and being good at the game. And
don't put me in that vein. I recently pivoted and said, I am now focusing on the every level of play. I want new players. I want competitive players. All of them. I'm focused. So don't do that to me.
Sorry. My channel is a billion. This is why I loved doing the Blitz deck videos. This is why I wanted to do those, and why I intentionally reached out and asked if I could do these videos that used to be on the Flesh and Blood website. But like, you know, like, this is why I want it, because I care that a new person has some way to find out how to play the game when they go and pick up a Blitz deck video. That's why I care about it. And like, that's the intention behind saying, like, I get it, the sets need to be good, we can't have a billion of them, and even like too many pre-releases where people, I never went to a Crimson Vow pre-release, I can tell you that much.
That's because there was 7 of them in like 2 weeks. But no, you're just 100% correct here, and not only you're correct, your heart's in the right place. And this is something we push back on each other. I'll never push back on you. Having a good pre-release experience for all level of play, where your high-level players are excited for new stuff and your new players are excited to get involved, is always good. So that's it. Not only is a great comment, but it's a great take. And I want to surprise you. Are you ready?
I'm surprised.
Are you ready? I'm going to do another. I have another comment. I know. I only gonna do one, but I have a second comment that I didn't tell you about beforehand. I want to shout out Jared Edgel, whose comment, or Edgel, I think it's Edgel, whose comment was, "Don't tell George or Mitch, this is now my favorite podcast." And I let him know that his secret was safe with me and the rest of the internet. And now the rest of the new internet that watches this one, nobody will tell ever. But I want to shout that out because that was just a cool comment. So and on a little bit lighter note,
I don't know who those guys are.
No, this has been an awesome episode. And then final shout out. I want to shout out you, dude. You're living the dream. I saw a release earlier about you're doing a bundle for some game. That's what's cool about your channel. You're always introducing people like this new game. And I saw the post for the bundle about this new game, and nobody ever gives you your flowers. So I just want to take a say. You're a TCG enthusiast, and you have your face on a TCG card, and it's not one that you made. You didn't call, shout out Fry the Eggs and all the other great altar artists out there. You didn't call an altar artist. This company, this card game, printed a freaking card. So that's the dream. That is so. From the rest of TCG enthusiasts, just to you, no, shut up. You're an inspiration. You don't get your flowers enough. You're awesome. Do I agree with everything you do or all of your takes? No, and I never will, because we're unique individuals. But you're just doing an awesome job, and that's really freaking cool to see, man. And anyone in this video, we didn't talk about this beforehand, so I love how embarrassed you are right now. Just go check out the fact that his face is on a card. It's a testament to all the good work you've put in, and that's it. You did a great job, dude. So cheers to you. You're an awesome dude. You're an awesome friend, and I appreciate this time together.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. I'm honored to. It's frustrating.
No. I did it already. You can't. No. I did it already.
I'm honored to wake up and make content every day. It's fun. It's an honor to get to do this. And I'm sure you'd say the same thing. So those of you guys who are listening, if you're still listening to us two idiots an hour and 28 minutes into this,
you should quit my job for me so I can make more content.
You should just move to West Virginia. Everything's free. There's no roads.
I'm not moving to West Virginia.
We could just do content together. I can't move anywhere. I'm locked down, man.
So my Kristen's a teacher.
Yeah, teacher.
She's
You
got
shouldn't
tenure.
teach anywhere.
No, she has tenure. We're not going anywhere.
I can be a teacher in West Virginia. They're under 5th grade. They're just like, anybody want to teach? We don't have anybody to teach. Anybody want to teach?
You have a T-shirt with a bottle opener on it. You cannot be a teacher.
Oh, I can.
That's
on the low end for
West
Virginia.
I forbid it. Absolutely not.
It's a drug test.
All right, we've been going for this. You and your weed beer and bottle opener t-shirts.
Did you fail the drug test? All right, come back next week. Try again.
No, we're not moving to West Virginia. That's you, and you can't. Then how could you? Earlier in this episode, you crapped on Florida man.
I hate all the states. I've been actually talking to me and my wife. This is now where. If you're still watching this, just stop watching.
Shout out you. That's the comment. That's the comment. If you're still watching, say I was here because I want to know the 3 people that are still watching.
When Louis said that he's been talking about moving to Florida.
One of them is just Dennis waiting for me to say something he's going to make fun of me for. Just so you know, that's one of them is just Dennis.
Anyway, thank you guys for watching. It's an honor. If you
guys are awesome.
Care about us to watch this far and you are not subscribed yet, do yourself a favor and subscribe. And if you are subscribed, hit the unsubscribe button and then subscribe again, just so you can relive the experience.
Please don't hit the unsubscribe button on Hometown TCG. I'm like pushing for 4K, and I don't need the heart attack in the middle of the day.
Dude, you're gonna outpace me. You have been saying that for a year now. You're gonna outpace me. You're gonna grow above me. I'm losing subscribers. That's what happens when me.
You got your face. You got your face on a card, and that's cool. But the playmat was much. It's a little self-involved. Like that's why you're losing subs.
Wow.
Like just leave it the card. Why does it got to be the playmat?
I didn't come up with the bundle. They came up with the bundle and approached me.
The excuses are wide and abound.
You talk to them. Go talk to Taylor. All right, everyone. Hope you have a great day. Remember, be kind to the people around you, and may your reactions be in the right phase.
I hate that. All right, just goodbye. Just editor. I like to do that with myself.